Hey guys, this is Jason. I'm reviewing Snow White, directed by Marc Webb, the director of 500 Days of Summer, the two amazing Spider-Man films, and Gifted. And it's about Snow White, played by Rachael Zegler, who goes away from the evil queen, played by Gadot, who wants to kill her, and she goes into the forest where she runs into the Seven Dwarfs in some horrifying motion capture. And then we later learn that a group of bandits are creating a rebellion against the evil queen, and they have to figure out how to protect Snow White from her. Yep, this is another live-action Disney remake we got that we never wanted, and we got it anyway, and that's something that Disney has been doing for years, where they've pretty much taken all the animated classics that people loved and turned almost all of them into live action, where most of them are either mediocre or really bad, while there were some that I still enjoyed myself, like I do like The Jungle Book, and I thought movies like Cinderella and Cruella were okay, but everything else was just really bad, and for me the worst one to this day is the live action Pinocchio film from 2022. So no, I wasn't excited for this film when it was coming out because of that, even though it does have some things that I do like from some of the cast and crew. Like, I do think Marc Webb is a good director when it comes to making smaller films like 500 Days of Summer, but when you give him a big film like the Amazing Spider-Man films, he is not, and you can tell that he's not ready for that kind of stuff, unfortunately, because his bigger films don't feel like they were made by him. They felt like they were very corporate, and unfortunately the remake they decided to go with was this film, which is a remake of the classic animated film from 1939, that being called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and that is supposed to be the one that started it all for Disney, where if that movie didn't do well, then we wouldn't have Disney now, we wouldn't have the classics that we would later get after that. Now for me, I wouldn't consider the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs movie to be one of my favorite Disney films. It is watchable. I can still have it on and watch it for what it is, and I do get why it's important, but it never stood out as one of my favorite Disney films, mostly because it has some moments with the dialogue and the story that don't really hold up anymore. And of course, this movie had a lot of controversy before it was coming out, like with some of the cast and crew they got in the film, in particular Rachael Zegler, which I'm not gonna get into because this is not the kind of video for that, because this review is really just to talk about the film itself. How is it? Is it good? Is it bad? How is it from start to finish? And people were just expecting this to be a pile of crap because of all that controversy. They were expecting it to be the worst live action Disney remake ever, and now that I've seen it, it's not awful, it's not good either, but it's not really as bad as like the live action Pinocchio film, because this film did get away with some redeeming qualities. Like, the costumes and the sets look good, they definitely capture the feel and the tone of the original animated film while also making them feel like their own, and they are very colorful, making all the costumes and the sets pop out. There are a couple of good songs. I mean, there really isn't gonna be like one that will leave an impact. There's not going to be one that's going to be stuck in your head, because there are some that are pretty forgettable, but there were a couple of songs in this film that I thought were okay. I thought the acting was pretty good. Most of the actors, except for one, I thought did a pretty good job, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I did think that Rachael Zegler was okay as Snow White. Unsubscribe right now. He likes Rachael Zegler's performance. Unsubscribe. I do not want to watch this guy anymore. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I thought she did a decent job. She felt like the character from the animated film, as well as making the character feel like her own. And the way she sings in this film is, I'm not gonna lie, it's beautiful. I thought she did a good job with the songs in the film. Say what you want about Rachael Zegler, but you can't deny she is a talented singer. And her growing romance with Andrew Burnup as the prince throughout the film, I also thought was one of the stronger parts of the film, where they felt like a believable couple. And Marc Webb is known for having that kind of stuff in his films, like 500 Days of Summer had that, his Amazing Spider-Man films had that with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, and his film Gifted also had that with Chris Evans and Jenny Slate. But unfortunately, that's where my positives end for the film. Now let's get to the stinkers. This movie tries to do something different compared to the animated film, where it adds some parts of the story and some new characters that weren't in the animated film. It does at least try to have some differences and not have it be a complete copy and paste remake of the original. But the choices that they make and the changes they decided to go with just didn't really work. Most of them just felt like filler, where they had characters that are just there to help progress the story, like this group of bandits that are supposed to be a rebellion against the evil queen. You don't get to learn much about them or why they're against the queen. They're just there to progress the plot, making a lot of their scenes just feel pointless. This movie is an hour and 50 minutes, and you can feel it. You can definitely feel the runtime because it would drag in a lot of scenes from the changes and the new characters they would later add, and adding in some scenes that are supposed to like stretch out the runtime but just make it feel boring. And I also gotta get this out of the way. The CGI in this film, it's awful. It's really bad. Mostly on the dwarves, the animals, and the backgrounds, where they just look so weird and creepy and unnatural, where they came out of an animated Robert Zemeckis movie, which a lot of people love to make comparisons from, and you really can't help but see that when you watch this film. Like, the dwarves would sometimes look like the characters from either the Polar Express or Mars Needs Moms, and unfortunately, they are in this film a lot, where they start to look as bad as like the MODOK design from Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. There are things in this film that do feel familiar to the animated film, obviously the poison apple that the queen would later give to Snow White, but unfortunately most of those things that we know from the animated film are just rushed and brushed aside, where we focus on the newer stuff. Like, some of the stuff you remember from the animated film is just there for like 5 seconds with each moment. Like that one scene where the characters are singing and dancing, that lasts for only like 5 seconds. Or when the queen wears that disguise that she's known for having and giving Snow White the apple, that transformation only lasts for like 5 seconds as well. And as usual, it does kind of play it safe. Like when Snow White goes into the forest the first time, it's not as creepy as how it originally looked in the animated film. Or when the queen wears her disguise, it's not as terrifying as it was in the animated film. But the one thing about this film for me is the worst one, and I don't feel comfortable saying that, but I have to because this is how I feel about it. But I don't think Gal Gadot did a good job as the evil queen. I do like Gal Gadot. I think she's a likable actress, but she is really bad here, where she doesn't show a lot of emotion or feel intimidating like the animated version of the evil queen. She just comes off emotionless and flat, especially with her own songs. They are so flat and emotionless, where they really don't work or make her feel like a threatening villain. Snow White from 2025 is not an awful movie. It does have some redeeming qualities. It has some things to like, but it still has a lot of the terrible things that we hate seeing from these live action remakes. Like terrible CGI, references to the animated film that are just rushed, casting choices that don't make any sense for their characters, and just some pointless filler that don't really make the movie any better. I think it's best to just stick with the animated film. That one is at least better than this film. I mean, heck, I would even go with Snow White and the Huntsman over this. That one sounds like it might be a hot take, and maybe it is. I'm gonna give Snow White 2025 a C-. So guys, if you have seen Snow White, what do you think about it? Either if you saw it in theaters or on streaming like I did. Do you think it's a great movie, or do you think that this is as bad as the other remakes? Let me know in the comments below. And I do have some other reviews planned, like I am looking for some other films I unfortunately missed when they were in theaters, but I still want to talk about them anyway. And as always, if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.